On the edge of an old, forgotten neighborhood, there lived a gentle mama cat, a tiny soul with a heart bigger than the world around her. She wasn't born into comfort. Her home was the cold, indifferent streets. But she carried a warmth within her, a fierce and tender flame. Every morning, as the city stirred to life, she would begin her search for food. But this search wasn't for herself. Her every thought, every step, was for the little lives tucked away in a secret corner, the lives that depended on her for everything. She wasn't particularly strong. The bigger, tougher strays often beat her to the scraps. She wasn't especially fast either. The world seemed to move at a pace she couldn't quite keep up with. But she had something more powerful than strength or speed. She was a mother, and to her, that title, that purpose, was everything. It was her entire world. One particularly cold evening, a biting wind swept through the alleyways, carrying with it the scent of rain. She finally returned to her hidden shelter, a broken, discarded wooden crate tucked behind an abandoned shop. It wasn't much, but it was the safest place she knew. Inside, a chorus of soft, desperate cries greeted her. Her kittens, tiny and frail, were hungry. They were scared, and they were waiting for the one constant in their young lives, her warmth. With a weary sigh, she curled her trembling body around them, her fur damp from the evening chill. She began to purr, a low, rumbling sound that was more a promise than a comfort. She was trying to soothe their tiny, racing hearts, to tell them that everything would be all right, even when she wasn't so sure herself. She knew she didn't have much to offer. No warm milk, no feast. But whatever she had, her body heat, her love, her very presence, she gave it all to them, completely and without hesitation. As the days turned into weeks, the streets seemed to grow crueler, more unforgiving. The dumpsters were emptier. The kind hands that sometimes left food were nowhere to be seen. Food became a treasure, harder and harder to find. Sometimes she would wander for hours, her stomach aching with an emptiness that gnawed at her, her paws raw and freezing on the cold pavement. But her mind was a fortress, focused on a single, unwavering promise she had made to her babies, a silent vow whispered into the wind: I must survive. For them, that thought was the fuel that kept her going when her body screamed for rest. It was the hope that pushed her through one more dark alley, one more failed search. One afternoon, after what felt like an eternity of searching, she found it. A half-eaten piece of bread, discarded on the sidewalk. To her, it was a banquet. With a strength she didn't know she possessed, she dragged it back to her little family. She laid the precious morsel gently in front of them, nudging it towards their tiny mouths. She didn't take a single bite for herself. She just watched. It was a fleeting moment of victory in a long and losing battle, but the cost of her sacrifice was beginning to show. Her strength was fading, draining away with each passing day. Her once soft fur became thinner, matted and dull. Her graceful steps became slow, heavy, and deliberate. Each breath grew a little heavier, a little more labored than the last. The world was demanding more than she had left to give. And then came the moment of devastating clarity. The moment she realized that her love, no matter how deep, no matter how pure, was not enough to fight the harshness of the world all by herself. Love couldn't conjure food from thin air. It couldn't shield her babies from the biting cold forever. She curled around her kittens one last time. Her purr, once a strong and steady rumble, was now soft, fragile, fading like a distant echo in the cold air. Her eyes blinked slowly, each movement an immense effort. They were filled with a heartbreaking mix of fear and a sliver of desperate hope. She wasn't afraid to leave this world the pain, the hunger, the cold. She was terrified of leaving them behind. Who would keep them warm? Who would protect them? Her job wasn't finished. But fate, in its mysterious way, had one final turn in this story. A gentle human, passing by the abandoned shop, heard the faint, high-pitched cries of the kittens. Curious and concerned, they followed the sound and carefully lifted the broken wooden crate. For the very first time, a ray of warm light touched their dark little home. The kittens, startled but sensing a chance, meowed louder, reaching out their tiny paws for help, for a rescue they didn't know they needed. The human picked them up, one by one, their hands impossibly gentle, wrapping the shivering little bodies in the warmth of a soft jacket. From her spot on the ground, the mama cat lifted her head weakly, a final surge of maternal instinct coursing through her. Her eyes met the human's, and in that silent gaze, she asked the only question that mattered: will they be safe? The human knelt beside her, their voice a soft whisper that cut through the cold. It's okay, I've got them. You can rest now. For the first time in a very long time, the mama cat closed her eyes without fear. A wave of peace washed over her. She knew her babies would live. I've got them. You can rest now. For the first time in a very long time, the mama cat closed her eyes without fear. A wave of peace washed over her. She knew her babies would live.